I joined a $33 mystery bounty tournament thinking it was going to be a normal session. By the time this video starts, we are almost in the money and the bounty phase has already started. There's only one problem. There's over 700 players in between me and first place. Let's go. We are officially in the money. First hand I'll go over. Thought I had a pretty good shot, get a couple knockouts. Bounties didn't play out, but is what it is. Second spot here, we're in level 21. 581 players left. I've started with 34 big blinds, hit top pair, c-bet, and took it down. So not very eventful. 530 left. Started with 37 big blinds, hit top pair again, bet, folded. So I'm taking down some chips. This spot, could have been, could have put me in a position of tilt, some may say, and dusted off the rest of my stack. But, got it in with 10s, thought I was in a good spot. Could have went runner, spade to take out two players, but instead I lost ace, queen. So level 22, there's 517 players left. I've got 22 big blinds after that hand. At the time, this looked like a routine spot. Looking back at it, it was probably one of the biggest turning points of the entire tournament. Early position open, I called. I hit top pair. Flop came queen, 7, ace. He bet, I called. I turned a flush draw. He bet again. I just cold called, and then the river came in, another club. I had the nut flush. Player tanked for a bit, and they ended up going all in, and I snap called. Bad beat for that opponent. We've got 474 players left. I've got about 45 big blinds after that. I'm in the big blind with ace king. Middle position opens. Small blind calls. I call as well. I flop the nuts. Flop is queen jack 10. The turn is 10. I didn't want to get into a dicey situation, so I decided to lead, and both players folded. Level 22, 448 left. I started the hand with about 50 big blinds, and I wake up with pocket 10s. This is a revenge spot. I can't play scared. I've got plenty of chips, and sure enough, I raise. Small blind goes all in. I call, and we end up holding on a run out, knocking out another player and picking up some blinds. So really picking up momentum there. This next hand, there's 395 players left. I've started the hand with about 57 big blinds. We're in level 23. I'm in the big blind with king jack. Small blind limps. I raise. Small blind calls. Flop comes 3 ace 6. I c-bet, and player folds. So I pick up some nice chips there. Level 23 again. We've got 389 players left. Start the hand with about 60 big blinds. I think I played this hand very poorly, but anyways, I raise. I get 2 calls. I check it over. Player bets 7 big blinds. I call with a open-ended straight draw. And I end up sucking out on the river, hitting a jack, so huge pot coming my way. We're in level 23. There's under 400 players now, 381. I've got about 77 big blinds. Starting the hand with ace 7. I decided to limp in. Everyone checks. Hit a 7 on the flop. 2, 7, queen. Everyone checks to me. I check it back. Turn is another 7, so it gives me trips. I don't know, with the diamonds out there, I just wanted to take down the pot, to be honest. Maybe I screwed myself out of some value, but is what it is. Level 24, got pocket 9s, raise, flop completely whiffed. I c-bet, took it down, so I'm doing a good job at being aggressive with this big stack. There's a lot of players left, a lot of short stacks. They're looking for good spots too. Here we're in level 24, 331 players left. I got pocket jacks. I decided to bump it up, and the flop came 3 jack 2. Player led into me. I just called. There was a player behind that called as well. Pot's building up. First to act checks. I decided to go for a big bet. There was a double flush draw on the board. I didn't want to see a river card that could have hurt me. I ended up betting and both players folded, so maybe I missed out some value there, but is what it is. 317 players left. I've got about 85 big blinds to start the hand. I raise it up in early position, and the flop comes 10-4. I c-bet. Player on the button calls. I decide to slow things down and check. Button bets 4.5 big blinds. I just decided to get out of there. I can definitely find a better spot. In level 25 now, we're under 300 players. I've got 69 big blinds. And I'm, under the gun with pocket nines. I decide to limp in. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 players that limp. Flop comes 7-3-2. I've got top pair. I decide to bet, and folds around. I get 1 caller. Turn is a 4. I decide to bet again. About a half pot size bet, and player gets out of there. So pick up another pot there. Level 29 or level 25. I've got about 78 big blinds. There's 278 players left. I raise it up from middle position with ace king and hit an ace on the flop. Running pretty good here. I get bet into. I just call. I get bet into again. I call. Player goes in, all in. I call and stack ace queen. So that was a massive pot. Put me at about 100 big blinds. Shortly after, I get ace queen, level 26. There's 246 players left. Player first to act decides to get out of there. I decide to raise it up. Little 2.5x raise. I get 1 late position call. The big blind goes all in. I snap call. He has pocket tens, and I end up doubling that player up. So lost some chips there, maybe about 20 big blinds, but on to the next hand. So there's 243 players left. I've got about 74 big blinds to start the hand. There's a late position raise. I've got king jack. I call. The flop is complete air. Makes a small bet. I call again. Turn doesn't help me at all. Check it over to the aggressor. They check back, which made me think that I could maybe get him off the hand. So I went with like a little over half size bet on the river, and they snapped it off with bottom pair. So could have just checked that back and gave up, but is what it is. I slow played this hand. I think it ended up costing me some chips, but anyways, we're in level 26. I have ace 9. I hit 2 9s on the river or on the flop. I've got trips. There's 2 players in. I end up betting on the river and got sucked out on by a low flush draw. I think if I had played that a little quicker, I could have got 8-7 out of there. They shouldn't have been in there to begin with. Here, level 27, I've got about 40 big blinds. There's 221 players left. I shove 40 big blinds with ace jack suited. Short stack player with about 11 big blinds decides to call with the ace 4. They hit a 4, and I don't improve. So I double another player up. I'm down to 30 big blinds. Next level, 27, 221. Well, there's about 207 players left. Got 25 big blinds. I jam 10s and take down a pot. So stealing some pots where I can. We go on break. There's 204 players left. I knew I was making a good run. There was still a chance at some big bounties. You can see here, top bounty was 12,000. I have a decent stack with 31 big blinds, but still had no idea I would win it all. Coming back from break, there's 204 players left. I've got 31 big blinds. We're in level 27. We've got pocket threes here. There's an early position limp. I decide to raise it up 2.5x, and I get one call. I end up flopping a open-ended straight flush draw bet, and then I get there with the 6 of hearts on the turn. I check it, trying to be sneaky. The river pairs the board. I try to bet, and that player gets out of there. So didn't get as much as I could have, but it's cool hitting a strip. It was cool hitting a straight flush. Here we are, level 28. We're under 200 players in this tournament. I've got about 30 big blinds. I've got pocket jacks in the small blind. Raise it up. Big blind calls, and I hit a set on the flop. I c-bet 2.5x, and they get out of there right away. So maybe I could have slow played there and got them to try to bluff, but is what it is. Level 28, there's 185 players left. I've got 33 big blinds. I decided to raise it up with king 8 offsuit. Not your typical hand. I get 3 bet by the small blind and get out of there. So bad play on my part, but this hand is when I realized I was going to get a shot at a super deep run in this tournament. There's 177 players left. I had 27 big blinds. It's level 29. I bump it up 2.5x. I get 1, 2, 3, 4 callers, and I flop an 8. So I hit trips. I decide to just jam, fold, and I get called by a stack that covers me. The other player behind folds, and we end up holding. The other player ended up hitting a straight, but didn't matter because I hit a boat on the turn. Here we are, level 29. We've got 160 players left. Started the hand with about 65 big blinds. I raise it up with ace 10, hit a 10 on the flop. I decide to c-bet. I get a call, late position behind me. Turn comes a jack. I decide to bet again, trying to be the aggressor, and player gets out of there. So I pick up a nice pot there. We're in level 30. There's 141 players left. At this point, I'm getting hit with the deck. The spot put me into the top 10% of the field, and again, realizing like, okay, I've got a real good shot to make a deep run. There's a late position raise. I decided to 3-bet with ace king. Yeah, I cover the initial raiser, so I'm not too worried. There is a call behind, but the initial raiser goes all in. I decide to rejam, and we're up against ace queen. Ace queen turns a flush draw, luckily misses it, and I end up stacking an opponent to win a massive pot. I'm over 100 big blinds at this point. Getting bounties. The biggest bounty I won was a $218 satellite ticket. Other than that, most of them were pretty small, 12, 29 bucks. Immediately in the next level, I pick up pocket threes. There's a raise for a middle position. Folds around to the big blind. The big blind decides to get out of there, and we end up flopping a boat. The flop was 3-8-8. Player checks. I bet a little over half pot. A little greedy on my end, but maybe I should have just checked it down. I kind of had it locked up, but took down a pot. Did I tell you I was getting hit with the deck? Here we are, level 32. There's 109 players left. I've got 84 big blinds, and I get pocket aces. I raise it up, 2 big blinds. Get a couple folds. the biggest bounties are still in, so I'm super incentivized to get players out. I get 3-bet. I buy the player on the button. I end up jamming. They end up tanking for a bit. Eventually, they make the call. And yeah, we're up against ace-queen. Ace-queen was dead on the turn. We end up stacking another player, getting another bounty, and we're collecting chips, which is the most important part. I got a little bit of big stack syndrome and played this hand pretty bad, I will say. Middle position, I had ace-10. I raised it up. I had 2 callers. Flop came. It didn't really help me out much. I decided to check. There was a bet from the player behind me. I called. I turned a flush draw, and I decided to lead here for about a third pot. And then the player behind me decides to bump it up and re-raise me. And I had a big enough stack to chase the flush draw. But given the dynamics of the tournament, we're under 100 players. I really didn't want to get into a weird spot on the river. So I went card dead for a couple levels, but we find ourselves in a bounce back position. I'm in the big blind with king 4. There's a early position limp. The button limps, the small blind limps, and I decide to check my option. I hit a king on the flop. I check it over to, I guess you could call it the aggressor. They decide to make a small bet. Button calls, small blind gets out of there. I end up hitting 2 pair on the turn. Checks over to the button, who ends up betting pretty big. I call, player behind me calls, and then I decide to lead on the river, and the button calls, and I end up winning over their king 6. So now I'm going back into cautious aggression mode. I really don't want to play hands super poorly. I want to pick my spots well. I want to steal pots and blinds when I can. Here, trying to be aggressive, middle position, I had king 9. I raised it up. Folds over to the button, and the button gets out of there, small blind gets out of there, and the big blind calls. I end up hitting a king on the flop. The big blind checks it over to me. I decide to bet. The big blind calls. The turn is a 4. Pretty bricky card. I decide to bet again. Big blind calls. Checks it over to me, and I check it back. I really didn't think I was going to get called by a worse hand there, so tried to play it safe. Probably wouldn't have got more value. Given the action, I knew I was way behind in this hand, but I knew I had a shot at 2 bounties. Small blind went all in, big blind went all in, and I called with king queen, and I lost a pot of about 20 big blinds on that hand. Next hand, there's 44 players left. We're down to 37 players now. I'm getting good hands. I'm raising where I'm supposed to. I'm taking down small blinds. Again, I know I was likely behind here in this hand, but I was priced in to call. There's still a really big bounty available. It was 4 blinds to make this call. Questionable when I have 26 big blinds or so, but I ended up tanking and calling. I ran into ace 9, and ace 9 ended up winning, so I missed out a bounty and I gave away some chips there. I go back into kind of aggression mode, and then card dead until level 40. Kind of slips. I'm at 13 big blinds. Trying my best to stay alive. There's 28 players left. I've got about 13, 14, 15 big blinds. I'm just hovering around that zone. I pick up king jack, ship it all in from early position. Everyone folds. Pick up ace 9, ship it. Everyone folds. There's a lot of pressure around these final two tables. I'm in the small blind and I jam ace four, get a fold there, which is good. At this point, there's 18 players left. This hand saved my tournament life, put me right back into the comfortable spot. I knocked out pocket fives to pick my stack back up, which I really needed. So now I'm over 20 big blinds again, applying pressure, finding good spots to steal blinds. 16 players left. I'm still just applying pressure where I can. Couple questionable all-ins. I love 10-7, but maybe that's not one of the hands I should do that. 13 players left. I've got 12 big blinds. Someone raises early position and I pick up aces. I ship it all in. I knew at minimum I was going to pick up some dead chips here. What's even better is more than doubling up with 13 players left. I get called by King Jack. They flop a gut shot and they whiff. I end up taking this pot down and putting my stack right under 30 big blinds. Very next hand, pretty crazy. I pick up pocket queens. I raise it up. I end up getting folds all the way around, so I'm picking up more chips. After this hand, I knew I was going to be at the final table. I picked up tens. It was my nemesis hand early on. I'm in the big blind, early position limps. There's a lot of pressure here. There's 13 players left. There's $12,000 up for first. There's a middle position raised to 3 big blinds. I end up calling, the player behind me calls, and I end up flopping a set. I decided to just jam. Didn't want to see another heart, but I end up getting called by pocket queens. Awful cooler here, and I end up hitting a full house on the river to take down a massive spot in a massive position. There's 13 players left. I've got over 60 big blinds now. At this point, I'm being super aggressive. Nobody wants to bust here, so I'm raising everything. I'm stealing pots. I'm maintaining my chip stack. It helped that I was getting a lot of good hands too. But, you know, just being the aggressor in this spot, I think I covered everyone at my table. So, you know, I had the opportunity to play a little bit more aggressive and not force super crazy spots. I was getting decent hands, so I was able to do so. I also think I was playing them pretty well. I'm in the big blind. I've got 52 big blinds. First to act, raises it up. I call. I flop a 10. He ends up betting. I end up calling. I turn an open ender. They bet. I call. And then I whiff. I ended up lead jamming with this player with 11 big blinds and end up taking down a sizable pot. Back into aggression mode. I'm just putting players to the test wherever I can. There's 12 players left now. We're 4 players away from the final table. I'm picking up monster hands and monster spots. And yeah, I'm just keeping the pressure high. Nobody wants to get into a squabble with me at this point. And yeah, so anytime it was checked to me, I was betting. I was getting people to fold probably better hands than mine, but they just didn't want to risk their tournament life at this stage. Here we are. We're 9-handed, 9 players left. I've got about 40 big blinds. You know, I end up hitting a straight. This player just kept betting into me. They ended up checking the river. I bet, I don't know, a third of the pot. They end up raising. I end up snap calling, and we win. We end up chopping the pot. They had a straight as well. Here we are, the final table. You know, it folded around a couple orbits. Everyone was trying to get their bearings. I'm 6th out of 8 in chips, and I'm in the big blind with ace king. There's an early position raised to 2 big blinds. I end up calling here. I could have I could have repopped it, but I ended up flat calling. I hit a king on the flop. Flop was all clubs. They ended up betting one big blind, and I just didn't want to see another club, so I jammed, and they got out of there. So I picked up some chips there, which was nice. Once again, what a dream hand to get on a final table. There's 7 players left. I pick up pocket aces. I raise it up to 2.5 big blinds. I end up getting called by the button and hitting a set. I went all in with 11 big blinds. They folded and got out of there, so ended up picking up some chips there. We lost another player. There's 6 people left, and then this happened. I picked up pocket kings. I was just running hot and getting good hands. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I ended up going all in. I got called by the first to act, who had ace 10. They hit a 10 on the flop and didn't improve. I got a massive double up in a massive spot. There's 6 players left, and I end up going to 28 big blinds. We end up losing another player, so we locked up $2,000, but I'm looking for top 3. I think third place was like $5,000. So we're here on the button. I have ace queen. There's an early position raise. I end up jamming, taking down the dead money. Same here. The button raises 3 big blinds. I have pocket 8s, and I jam and they fold. So here are the payouts. We got 12K up for first, 7,000, 5,000 for third. We're at 4 players left. We just got a $700 pay jump, but the next is a $2,000 pay jump. So the stakes are higher. I end up getting it all in against a short stack with ace jack. I end up flopping a jack. I end up jamming. The other 2 players get out of there, and we end up holding against 6-10. What a massive spot. That was a $2,000 pay jump that I just got. I've got 21 big blinds. We just locked up $5,000. Blind versus blind. Small blind goes all in. I call with ace 7. I hit a 7 on the flop to knock him out. And now we're going heads up. We've got almost $7,000 locked up. 12K for first. It's basically a $5,000 heads up match. And yeah, it's just insane. I think that was the biggest bounty I pulled, other than the satellite ticket. So we go on break. I do my routine, go to the bathroom, eat, reset. We're back from break now. It's time to go to war. I'm massive underdog. I start heads up with 17 big blinds, and it's just a battle. The chip leader has started with over 60 big blinds, and I definitely started as the underdog in this match. I stayed patient. I kept taking good spots, and I knew I was slowly shrinking the gap between me and the chip leader. I was getting good heads up hands, so that helped. It was an uphill battle, but I could see the gap thinning, and I knew I had a shot. Getting a little extra value in this hand was huge for momentum. I could see a shift coming soon, and that's exactly what happened. I ended up picking up a little more chips by playing this hand a little deceptive. I ended up rivering a flush, and I checked the turn, and my opponent decided to lead into me on the river. I raised and they folded. So, but the gap's shrinking. This was by far the biggest bluff of the tournament for me. I had 6-7 suited. The flop came 2 queen 10 with 2 clubs. He checked it to me. I bet. He called. He checked it again. I bet. He called again. The river didn't help me at all. I had 7 high. He checked it to me for a third time, and I jammed 20 big blinds in his face. Biggest spot here, I was like, you know what? If he calls, so be it. I locked up $7,000. Had a great run. But he ends up folding, and I become the chip leader off of a massive bluff and a massive spot. We're back to war. My opponent was playing super tough, only giving me inches and then taking it back. I don't even know how many hands we played against each other. I'd like to go back and see, but we were going back and forth. He took the chip lead back. I was kind of bleeding chips, but I was staying alive, winning pots when I needed to. We were just neck and neck for a little bit. It all came down to this hand, and looking back, I had no business playing this hand and so loosely. I limped in, the flop bricked for me, he checked it over, I bet, he raised, I called with nothing. The turn gave me lots of outs, and I told myself if I was behind when my opponent lead jammed into me for over a pot size bet, I knew there was a couple outs that I could hit. I probably thought about it for 2 seconds. With Air in a Dream, I called it off, and the river gave me a flush to take it down. I needed it. He had a straight, and I ended up knocking out the last player in this tournament. We did it. We outlasted over 4,800 players, locked up my biggest tournament win of over $12,000. And yeah, it was just beyond electric. It was a sick run. I was getting sick hands. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and follow and subscribe for more videos to hopefully come in the future.